Hoy hoy, he's Straw, I'm Parker, and together we are the Battlehammer Air Horns for Days. Today we have a mysterious, although it's probably not so mysterious if you've seen the title of the YouTube video or maybe skipped ahead and watched it, a mysterious unmarked cardboard box, and I'm going to show you what's inside and talk a little bit about a little something. So let's just get in. Ooh, there we go. Moonstone. It's for Moonstone, right? Now, if you don't know Moonstone, it's a little skirmish game with some cool, kind of really quirky, grim fairy tale style miniatures. There's this guy, I think he's called Lord Fancy Hat, and various other goblins and humans and fairies and gnomes and all of this kind of stuff. You can go to Moonstone the game to find out more about it, but specifically they've got a Kickstarter coming up called the Arising Kickstarter, which is, if I remember correctly, from June the 15th to the 14th. So you'll find out about that on the Facebook page. There's a plane in the background, that's annoying, but we're going to unbox this, which is a limited edition miniature just for the Kickstarter. And this is Diana Enraged. So Diana is Queen of the Fae. And a train. Aren't we lucky? 2 noise disturbances today. Yep, that's annoying. I'm going to keep talking because I'm right next to the microphone. Hopefully you can hear me more than you can hear that. Just like a proper professional. So, Diana the Fae, Queen of the Fae, she is yay big. She's a cool... let's have a little zoomy zoom. There we go. She is the Queen of the Fairies. The fairies in this are spiteful little bastards, because, you know, why not, right? Lovely detail in the face there. Some cool leaves. She's riding the lightning. She's got some lovely wings, which don't have any sculpted... They do have a certain amount of sculpted detail, as in the folds and stuff, but they don't have any... You know, you could do some really good freehand work if you were good. I mean, I guess I'll have a go, and we'll see what we can do. The back of her hair, she's got kind of dreadlock vibe going on, with some lightning. And the normal Diana is the model, partly the model that you see here, but this is Diana Enraged, so she's got the powers of magic flowing around her and explodifying and all cool stuff like that. So I am going to go and glue this together, prime it, and then I'll show you what it looks like after that, and I'll tell you a little bit more about the Kickstarter that's coming. See you in a sec. Okay, so here we are. I have now assembled and primed them. We've got the base. There's a couple of little holes there to glue her in. I was going to glue her in normally, because normally I'm not big on sub-assemblies, but I thought, you know what, if I'm going to try and get a brush in down there when she's in the way, it's going to be tricky. Very cool, swirly, magical, explosion-y type whooshing, which is very cool. We like that a lot. There's lots of lovely little details as well. So you've got the explosion around the bottom. There's like smoke, bits of rock like being forced out and stuff, and then there's little bits of rock being pulled up into this whirlwind of magic, which is nice. Like that. Done a pretty standard zenithal prime on here. I've gone over again with some white, just with a normal brush, just to emphasise anything a little bit, you know, just to make those little tops a bit brighter. And here we've got Diana Enraged herself. I keep wanting to say engorged, but it's not that. We've got the lightning that she's coming up from. You see that alright? She's got like a skull mask, and her belt with a little moon symbol on it, which is nice. Her her kind of dready type vibes. Her wings that are, you know, plain, waiting for some freehand that I'm going to be bad at, but I'll give it a go. And there we've got her from behind as well. I like that you've got some sculpt on the wings. They're not just completely flat. They do have a, I don't want to say a texture, but a sense of movement to them, which I really like. So if you did want to just paint them and not have them with any texture, then that's fine. You can do that and they won't look super boring or anything. Yeah, so there she is in her maelstrom of magic. So I'm going to get to painting. Now, I have had a little bit of a think. So my plan, such as it is, I'm going to take my handy dandy colour wheel for reference. So I think what I'm going to do with the magic-y swirl, because that's quite a big part of the miniature, is I'm going to do that in shades of kind of purpley blues, by which I mean I'm going to start with some Payne's Grey ink. This happens to be the Dale Rowney version of Payne's Grey, in the shadows. Work my way up through some Volupus Pink from Citadel Contrast, maybe some of this Oxford Blue, which is kind of a purple colour, and then finish off with some fluorescent magenta as like a hot pink kind of, for some highlight on some of the magical doodads. So that's going to be like my magical power kind of whoosh, very bright, very hot pink, you know, really stand out on the tabletop. And then for her, I'm going to be using the kind of other end of the colour wheel. So where I'm using this, oh, let's zoom out a bit so you can see that better. There we go. So whereas I'm using this side for the magic, I'm going to be using this kind of yellow through green side for her. So she's got little leaves on her belt, so they'll obviously be green. Her clothes will be green. Her skin will have like a warmer, yellower kind of tone to it. The lightning will probably be in a really pale, desaturated blue that hopefully you won't notice too much. I don't want it to be blue. I just want it to be like white lightning that has got a blue tinge to it. And I think once I've done those things, then I'll do the wings. And maybe I'll incorporate both colours. I don't know. So yeah, that's going to be that. I am going to start with the base as soon as I've got some colours out. I think I'm going to do a mix of kind of airbrush and normal brush. I'm probably going to go in with some Payne's Grey from beneath with the airbrush, just to get that kind of Payne's Grey in there, maybe in the middle as well, because I want the inside to be darker so that she shows up more against it, and the outside to be brighter. Then I'll probably go in with the normal brush for some Oxford Blue, and then we'll see from there, I guess. You might get some voiceover, I don't know yet. See you in a sec. Okay, so while I'm doing this airbrushing, I'm going to take this little moment to briefly explain what I'm doing. We're going underneath from below, as it were, with some Payne's Grey ink, and then in a little while you will see me working in some Volupus Pink contrast paint from G-Dub, in just kind of a general all-overy type vibe, and then after that there'll be some white ink just on the tips, and then lastly there will be some fluorescent magenta just to lighten it up and make it all pop. But while you're watching that bit, I'm just going to tell you a little bit about this Kickstarter that's happening. It's for Moonstone, unsurprisingly, happening from the 5th of June, I believe, until the 13th. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure it's the 5th to the 13th, which would be the time that this video goes out. So go and check it out. I'll put a link in the comments down below. There will be a new 176-page expansion book called The Arising, and a campaign deck and this limited edition exclusive miniature that I am painting up on this channel as we speak. It's got campaign rules in it, so there will be various cards and in-game expansions and clarifications and stuff. A whole bunch of narrative to tell you all about the world and what's going on. 10 new scenarios, 35 character rules in there. Some are currently unreleased, but a lot of them will be actual already ones. Loads of art and photos. There'll be a campaign card deck with 70 cards, which has got events and agendas, which can add drama and stuff like that. 36 upgrade cards. As you develop your troop, you will get access to these upgrade cards. Of course, there is Diana Enraged, which is this model that I'm painting now, who you can use either as Diana, a replacement for the normal Diana, or there will be a Diana Enraged card, which will be part of a specific scenario. So she'll be like super powered up. And of course, as is a Kickstarter, you can also access all of the previous stuff, so you can order all of that stuff that you want to catch up on as well. And there may or may not be more. I have no doubt there will be more with stretch goals and all that kind of fun stuff. So go and check it out. I'll leave a link in the description box below. So thanks for listening. On to the next bit. Okay, so I've done the airbrush stage. The vortex of magic is coming along nicely. I just wanted a little something extra. I do like the textures I've got. That kind of hot pink is really nice. But I wanted a little something else. What I'm going to do, I'm going to block in the stones and the smoke and stuff with grey, just like a neutral grey, just give me something to work against. I think I'm going to try something out with give it a little bit of an underglow with a different colour. So I'm going to use that Oxford blue, maybe highlighted with a little Arctic blue as well, and I'm going to paint almost like upside down, so I'm highlighting the bottoms just to give it this kind of blue underglow, which I think might look kind of nice, and just be a nice kind of enhance the magical thing. I think I'm going to leave the inside mostly as it is. I don't want to create too much going on to distract from her. So I've got some Oxford blue. It's one of those colours that likes to split. You know how some of them do? You just put them on your palette and they just, for whatever reason, they like to split. So I'm just going to go under here, almost like I'm highlighting in reverse. Just add a little bit more brightness, just to take away from, some of that darkness. That we've got. And go around with the Oxford blue and then probably highlight it a little bit more, and I might even do some what's the word I'm thinking of, fluorescent blue as well, just to give it a bit more of a pop. So I'm going to crack on with this for a little while, and if I do come across something else cool, I will let you know. Okie dokie, so I'm calling the base just about done. I might want to do some tweaking later on, once it's all put together. I'm not sure yet. So obviously I've done the swirly magic as you saw with the glow and everything. There's a train. What do you call this stuff? Smoke. The smoke I did with a few coats of Miskatonic Grey, which is kind of this weirdy purplish grey, I guess. I don't know what that is. But anyway, so I went over the clouds with that, darkened it down with a little bit of African shadow, and then just highlighted up by adding a bit of white to the Miskatonic grey. And that looks kind of nice. I didn't want it to be too strong with the highlights, but I think it looks okay. And then the rocks were just done with Mechanica Standards grey, then some stone grey and Decotan to highlight, because I wanted them to look different, obviously, than the clouds, the explosion-y type clouds. And then I just rimmed the base with black, standard black from Vallejo, which is my go-to black at the moment. I'm enjoying that. It's got a nice finish, pretty matte but not super matte, bit of a sheen, not too much. I was using the eye painter black for my base rims, but I don't know, I find it a bit too shiny now. I mean, it'll end up getting blooming, what's the word, varnish later anyway. So that's the base done. Looks pretty cool. So now I'm going to start with Diana herself. I will show you what I'm going to do. Okay, so now I'm going to start working on Diana herself. I have, for this demonstration, decided to go with some Pro Acryl paints. I've never used them before, heard lots of good things, so I thought, you know what, I'm going to pick up a couple. I've got a few more, probably got about 10 total. Just give them a try out, just some basic colours. I've got like green, blue, red, yellow, orange. I've got some more in here. Orange, yellow, red, purpley. My issue sometimes with painting is base coats. I really hate painting base coats. It's the most boring part of the model. And as much as I'm really enjoy using Scale 75 paints at the moment for glazing and highlights and kind of that smooth kind of jam, actually base coats they're not great for. They haven't got massive coverage, but I heard these Pro Acryl paints have got amazing coverage and are in other ways quite similar to the scale colour paints, so I thought I'd give them a go. So I ordered a few. I'll let you know how I feel about them as I go. I did just a little testy blue just on the bottom. This is sky blue, and I'm going to be using this for the lightning. So yeah, I'm just going to go over the lightning with this blue, and then I'm going to block everything in with some base coats first of all. And then we'll see how I go from there once I've seen what it all looks like. I think I'm going to probably, I thought, it's funny, you never quite know how things look until they're on the model. I think I'm probably going to end up going much lighter than this blue. So I really want them to be the electricity, or whatever this is, the magic-y weirdness, to be kind of much more, how do you say, like white, but with a blue tint rather than blue with white highlights. That makes sense. So anyway, I'm going to go in with that. Shouldn't take too long. We're using a slightly bigger brush than I normally would, because this is just, you know, just some base coat. So that's finished. That's pretty much 1.5 coats is what I'm going to call it, because yeah, 1.5 coats. That's pretty blinking strong as a base coat, which I like. Now I'm going to go and do the flesh, which is going to be tricky. So I'm going to get out a different paintbrush, a slightly smaller one. This is a number 1. Series 33 from Rosemary & Co, and I'm using tan flesh from Pro Acryl. And one thing I will point out is I'm not actually watering these down. Normally I'd thin them, but these go on pretty well. So that's that done. Now I'm going to go in with some green, I think, for the leaves around her belt, and maybe her skirt thing as well, I don't know yet. So I'll just go for a brown. We'll see. So now I'm going to go in with some light umber. I'm just going to block in some of the clothes. Lastly, or at least lastly for now, well, lastly-ish, I'm going to go in with some bright ivory for that skull mask, and I'm going to go in with some, after that, orange leather for the hair. So I've blocked in most of the colours. It still needs a bit of tidying up because I'm trying to film it on camera and I can't necessarily get to the right angles that I want to get. So far, liking the Pro Acryl paints. They're not the magic in the bottle that obviously we always want. We always just want that perfect thing. Probably still going to need maybe 2 coats, but I'm really liking the colours. So I'm going to tidy this up off camera and then I will work on the next little bits. See you in a mo. So it was at this stage that I realised that I probably shouldn't have glued the wings on because they were a bit hard to get to. So I was, base coating the rest of the model, as you know, and I thought, oh wow, I need to do the wings. So I thought, I better do the wings now, or at least start the wings now, so that I can get into these little cavities, and behind her hair and stuff before I end up painting it all, and then end up messing up my paint job. So started with a little wild. So theoretically, I'm loosely basing these wings on a monarch butterfly, but I don't think they're going to turn out like that because I don't think I've got enough time. But we'll see. But anyway, that was the theory behind it. So I went with this kind of, orangey, reddy kind of colour. So it started with Wild Rider Red from G-Dubs, highlighted a little bit of orange, and then added some golden yellow to that right at the end to get this kind of effect, which I thought was quite cool. Because in theory, I can outline various bits with black and add some white dots, and it'll be like a monarch butterfly because she's the queen. Ha! Yeah, I know. So I'm just using a mediocre brush, not worried about using a super fine whatever, and just a couple of coats of this Wild Rider Red to begin with. Right, so a couple of coats done. Nice strong Wild Rider red. When I say a couple of coats, I did leave some like just single coats, just kind of following the zenithal highlight that I did, so it's slightly darker in the recesses, theoretically speaking. So now I'm just going to add a little bit of orange to the Wild Rider red. And then I'm just going to follow these contours like I did on the other wing, just to get some highlights in. So I've worked my way up to orange. Now I'm going to add a bit of this golden yellow to the orange and work my way up through that. Lastly, I'm just adding some scale colour black leather to the original Wild Rider red, kind of glazing it in, glazishing it in to make, just to add some definition. And that's the wings done, and they are okay, just about. I think they're close enough for government work. So now I think I'm going to work on the, before I work on the skin, I'm going to do the bangles and jewellery and whatnot. And fairly simple, I'm not going to go into massive detail on this. I've just got some metallic paints. I'm going to do gold, starting with a darker gold and working my way up. In this case I'm using Decayed Metal, Viking Gold, Elven Gold, and then finishing off with Citrine Alchemy. Next we'll do the skin. I'm going to retouch up any mistakes that I've made, of which there are many, with this tan flesh from Pro Acryl. Then we're going to go over that with some pale skin from Scale, and then lastly some pale sand, because I want it to look quite, not pasty, but kind of very, very pale and ethereal looking. So wish me luck with that. So far of the Pro Acryl paints that I've been using, really liking them. They're not too thick coming out the pot, so they don't need any thinning straight away. Coverage is great. Big fan so far. Oops, I should do this on camera, shouldn't I? Really? Be a good idea, wouldn't it, Parky? Yes, it would. So to all you Moonstoners watching this, what faction do you play? I was going to say I haven't played Moonstone in ages, but then again, I haven't played much of anything in quite some time. Thanks, COVID. Just want a little bit more definition, so I'm going to go in with a very thin wash of Reichland Flesh Shade just into some certain parts. Don't want it to be super strong. Just adding a bit of definition where I want it. Okay, so that's done, giving her a bit of a definition on her musculature. So now I'm just going to highlight the brown. I started off with light umber from Pro Acryl, so I'm just going to add a lighter brown. I'm just wondering what one to add. So many options. Yeah, let's go with this sandalwood from Scale. See what that looks like. It's like a kind of almost vaguely purpley brown. I'm not very good at describing colours. Okay, last thing I'm going to do is re-emphasise that green because I've made a couple of mistakes on it. So I'm just going to go back in with my Pro Acryl, what's it called? Green, and touch those areas up, and then we're going to try a little something something. Okay, so the thing I'm going to try is an oil wash. I don't know if I'm going to do just like a pin wash. Probably going to do more of a pin wash than a whole, like drenching it in oil and then wiping it off. I don't want it to look grimdark or anything, but some extra definition would be nice. So I am going to gloss varnish these. Now people say that the thinner and the oils and everything don't affect the paint underneath because it doesn't affect it chemically or anything, but I think I want to gloss it anyway because it does help the capillary action and stuff, because of the gloss surface. So I want to give these a gloss coat of varnish, just using Vallejo gloss varnish through the airbrush, and I will see you when I'm ready to do the oils. Okay, so here we are, a very shiny little fairy person and their very shiny little base, ready for some oil washing. Now I have mixed some oil washes up. There's 4 there. They're all Winsor & Newton Artists oil colour, and all slightly different colours. We've got olive green, burnt umber, Payne's grey and burnt sienna. I might not use the burnt sienna, we'll see. I've watered them down, I've thinned them down with thinner, with this Sansador Winsor & Newton thinner, just to get kind of a, you know, like a watery consistency, I guess. And now, in theory, let's start with the base. In theory, if I dab the thinner in, it should just flow into the recesses all nice like. Always wipe away what you don't want. just tapping it in. This is the Payne's Grey I'm going with, because I figure it's close enough to the, you know, I'm just going to get some separation with this pin wash. Not going to have a massive effect. I mean, you can always go over it more than once if you want to. It's almost like cheating, because you just dab it in. And the trick is getting the consistency of the wash right. You want it to be thin enough that it flows. Obviously you need enough pigment in there for it to be a decent colour. So I'm just going to work my way around, dabbing in this Payne's Grey. And see if we can't give ourselves a little bit of extra cheeky contrast. Okay, so that's the base done. You can see it's popped a little bit. Not quite as strong as I thought it was going to be, but I'm still learning about these oil washes, so you know. One thing I do like is that they blend in a lot more than normal washes. You don't get the same kind of coffee staining that you do. And if you do get a little bit of something, you can always go back in there with your brush. Just move it around a little bit, which is nice. Right, on to the next bit. So now I'm going to do some work on Diana herself. I think let's start with this olive green. And really I just wanted this so I could do the leaves. So I'm just going to go over the leaves. Hopefully should bring out the texture. Which it does very nicely. And while you do have to obviously get thinner and whatnot, it's not as alien as people think. Of course, you know, you'd have to be careful if you had kids or whatever, but generally speaking, they're not, you know, they're not dangerous or anything like that. Not unless you drink them, which you shouldn't, so that's really on you if you do. Just make sure if you're someone who licks their brush, make sure you don't lick your brush when you're doing this. Then we're going to go in with some of the burnt umber, I think. Yeah. I'm going to use this on the her kind of leather clothing. I'll also use it just as some lining kind of between areas. Where you might do like a black lining or something, I think I want to do a brown. Just for personal preference, really. You can see that's really helped those feet there pop really nicely. in areas like this which were really hard to paint. Couldn't get a huge amount of separation on, like her kind of shoulder straps. So we'll just nicely go into those recesses. Create some contrast. We're just going to put it over this ivory mask. Like you might do with, you know, Agrax or whatever. It's the same sort of difference, but you end up, in my opinion anyway, with a better result because of the oils. And you can, you know, it doesn't dry instantly. You're not left with the coffee staining in the same way. So you can just kind of go to town and then remove it later. I'm just going to try something. I want to check this burnt sienna on her hair. I don't know if it's going to be too orange and not dark enough. I don't know. Yeah, I like that. Yeah, that's good. It gives a nice believable kind of orangey red-headedness. I'm going to work my way around here, do some lining and whatnot, and then I will wait for it to cure or dry or whatever, however long that's going to take. I'll probably leave it overnight just to make sure, and then we will do another layer of varnish just to make sure it's all nicely protected. See you in a little while. So there we have Queen Diana, Queen of the Fae, in all of her glory, painted up, put together. The only thing I did off camera was a coat of varnish. I like to use a mix of ultramatte and satin varnish, just personal preference. I think the matte can look a bit like grainy almost, like textured, and then the satin can be too shiny, so I mixed the two together and then I glued her into place. I did ping off a little bit of the lightning, so there's a little notch just behind her, but it's not a big deal. I hope you've enjoyed that video. I hope you enjoyed learning a little bit about Moonstone earlier on, and my experience with Pro Acryl paints, as well as an oil wash and some other bits and pieces. So let us know what you think in the comments down below. Make sure you know, leave a like and all that kind of stuff. You know, let us know what you think, what faction you'll be playing with in Moonstone, whether you're getting in on the Kickstarter, all that kind of fun stuff. If you want to help the channel out, we've got Patreon account, we've got Coffee account, we've got all the things you can do, all in that little doobly-doo box below. But if you do nothing else, you just do one thing today, doesn't matter what it is, apart from you have to do this thing. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you liked it and want to subscribe. If you don't like it and don't want to subscribe, you don't have to like and subscribe, but we would like it if you liked and subscribed. And until next time, stay hammered!